will absolutely, of course, not remember this, but you and I have spoken once before, and it was way back in 2006. We did a phone interview and you were living in Ireland. You had just
Hmm.
released your first solo record, and I
Okay.
was like, "So where are you at the moment?" It's like, "Oh, I've just lit. It's the morning in Ireland. I've just lit a fire, and now I'm playing with my son." And I remember thinking, that sounds absolutely beautiful. And now I think, holy shit, that kid must be now like a grown, a very grown.
Django is, yeah, my eldest Django is now, he's going to be 20 in December.
Good grief.
I
Man.
know. Yeah. And and he is actually taller than I am. I'm a pretty tall man, but he's tall and wider shoulders, like same deep voice and everything. It's like, oh, wow.
Did you get cool dad points growing up, or did he think you were a dad?
Um, I think he thought it was pretty cool, but like it's two sides of the coin, right? Because there's the rock star personality, and that's on tour and all that stuff, and he's seen shows and he's blown away and all that. But when he's at home with us, I just turn into a goofball, and like tell dad jokes and things like that, and he's just rolling his eyes, and he's just trying to figure out where'd the other Jeff Martin go. So that was the thing. So
Uh, Jeff, take me back to 1999. Fight Club and The Matrix were in theaters, and we didn't know it at the time, but we were 2 years away from the world collectively losing its fucking mind for a few years.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, man. Like, what do you remember of that time?
Well, what I remember is that we were probably, I mean, at the zenith of our creative abilities, the band. Coming off of our sophomore record, The Edges of Twilight, cemented a sound for the Tea Party within, the rock and roll world. Like no one else had that sound. And then Transmission again was if Edges of Twilight was all about the world music influences, Transmission bringing in electronic music with hard rock. Of course, Nine Inch Nails was doing that, but it still had the Tea Party sound to it. There was those Middle Eastern melodies, not so much the instruments, but the melodies were still in there. But now with this electronic sort of menace, and I think what happened then with Triptych, because of the success of those two records, and this is, keep in mind back in the day when record companies had budgets for artists, and things like that. And because of our success with those two records, well, actually the first three, EMI just gave us carte blanche to go into the studio. They left us alone. I'm producing the record once again, and we basically took the best of what we had known from the Edges of Twilight and the insights that we gained from making Transmission, and it was it was an alchemical marriage of those two records into one record, Triptych. And I tell you, because I've had to go back and listen to it because we're going to be doing some deep cuts on this tour. But listening to that record in my studio with headphones on, I mean, I know it sounds weird to say because I produced the record and main writer, but because I haven't listened to it in a long time, I'm blown away by the consistency and the quality of every single song on that record. And the production is something that, I don't know what I was on, but it was damn good.
Now, I apologize if you've fielded this question a few times, but in reading up about you, the synesthesia came up, and
Yeah.
that fascinates me. I just wanted to like how because I've heard people describe it in various different ways. What is that term meant to you, and have you always had it in your life?
It seems to, yeah. I mean, it more or less started coming to me when I started producing, like and working in recording studios. I'm a Libran, and so apparently it's all about balance, right? That's that kind of goes out the window as far as the '90s is concerned. But um, the one thing that I found as becoming a producer, working in a recording studio, for me, it's all about balancing, like, within a stereo field. And I began to, I'd be like, even as a child, like if I would hear like, certain classical music, a color would come to mind. And then, but working in the recording studio, it's a very difficult thing to explain, but those colors that I hear, like from certain timbres, like an instrument might have a certain color or a scale, whatever. And those colors, it's like making a painting that has to be perfectly balanced. And if it's not, I can't let it go until it is.
Yeah, I imagine that would be both in a way it would be frustrating and it would also be awesome. Like it has me thinking like Jesus, a producer with synesthesia and perfect pitch. He must be a monster in the studio.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's an interesting time, that's for sure. But I've learned to get to the finish line, quicker these days. So
You better at compromise, you think, in your as you got older, or
oh no, I never compromise, but it's just that I think I'm getting well. I no, I believe I'm getting better at what I do, and just the wisdom from all those years and the different recording studios and the great talents that I've worked with in recording studios, like engineers and other producers, mastering engineers. You accumulate this wisdom, and so things can be quicker. You have the tools at the ready all the time, pretty much.
yeah. So I'm 38. So the Tea Party has, growing up in Australia, the Tea Party was always all over Triple J and whatnot. So it was, you guys have always had that presence for me. I remember being quite surprised in the late 2000s when the political party, the Tea Party, started coming out, and I remember
Yeah.
thinking, "Oh, wait, what? Did this ever cause you friction or annoyance?"
No, no, actually, funny enough, that party, that political nonsense, they offered us a lot of money to get the website name, and there's not enough money in the world to like let people like that actually have a voice. It's just it's like it's the worst aspect of America, and unfortunately, that hasn't gone away. It's getting even worse. So, but
Yeah.
at least we held on to our integrity, and we can sleep soundly at night knowing that we did not help that faction out in any way, shape, or means.
Good man, good man. Uh, do you get to see much live music as a punter these days, or are you usually too busy with music?
Um, I'm just because like the Tea Party tours are so intense, and I do a lot of solo stuff here in Australia as well. Um, kind of like I used to go out quite a lot. I was actually very fond of finding like really dingy blues dives and stuff like that, and getting up on stage and jamming with people and everything. These days, no, I don't. I don't venture out much anymore. My wife and I, big foodies. We love cooking food from all over the world. Like there's a lot of Moroccan food that's cooked here, and Indian and Turkish and things like that. But we don't eat a lot, but we love to cook it. And so it's like that's sort of our entertainment now, and because like I said, it's full on, like whether it's solo or whether it's the Tea Party, like that lifestyle. It's fun, and it's great to be out there. But I have this beautiful, beautiful home now, up in the Blackall Range near the Glasshouse Mountains, the Sunshine Coast. And my view like overlooks the hinterland right out to the Pacific Ocean, and it's like, why would I want to leave here? I'm surrounded by botanical gardens, and I've got my recording studio that has every trick in the book in it, and it's just a lovely life. And, there's a time to leave, and that's when I've got to work. And then if I'm not, I'd like to stay home. So,
What first drew you to move to Australia?
well, um, my first wife was Australian, and obviously Django was born here in 2004. So, you know, but Australia, like it was, it was the first place outside of Canada where the band had success. And it was just like coming here for the first time. Um, I cannot describe how the elation, of the wonderment of Australia, like what it created in my mind. And, to be so fortunate now to, like, very proudly call myself a permanent resident of Australia. Well, it's a dream come true. And, I mean, I love my home country, Canada, but, if I never had to see one of those winters again, that wouldn't bother me at all.
That is the main thing I think of when I think of Canada. Like lovely people, but holy shit, that must be just freezing. Like,
It is something to go through, that's for sure. I mean, it's beautiful. Like that first snowfall. I've got a very old friend that she has a farmhouse in Vermont that looks like something out of a Bing Crosby movie, right? Built in the early 1900s, and my wife and I, we've stayed there many times in winter, the dead of winter, and when you've got all that beautiful crystal clean white snow on the ground, it's gorgeous. You got the big fireplace roaring. Okay, that's nice. But once that snow starts to melt and you've got to go out in it, and it's just ugly. It's just gray and the freezing wind and everything. And it's like, no, thank you. I'll stick to the Sunshine Coast. Yeah.
yeah. I grew up in Tasmania and I live in Brisbane these days, and I'm like, yeah, I'm happy where I am. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Being cold is miserable. Um, Mate, music and instrumentation from different cultures has long been a part of the Tea Party's sound. What have been some of your favorite instruments?
Instruments. Well, speaking of Tasmania,
Mhm.
I have a friend in Tasmania. He's a musician. His name is Harry Wass. And Harry, to my knowledge, is the only one in Australia who builds hurdy-gurdies. Have you heard of a hurdy-gurdy?
I have heard of it, and I'm not going to lie, it's mainly because it was from a Butthole Surfers song.
Okay. Well, a hurdy-gurdy it's a medieval instrument, and what it is, like, well, the French called it une vieille à roule, which means a violin that rolls, because it's got a crank, right?
Mhm.
And it has a keyboard, and it has like 4 strings, sometimes 6, but and so it's like a perpetual violin, right? And Harry made me a couple over the years, and so that's one of my favorite instruments to play. Like you'll hear a hurdy-gurdy as the intro of the Badger off the Edges of Twilight. That's that sound. Sounds like bagpipes.
Mm.
I also I've got a beautiful 100-year-old sarod, Sarod. Sarod is an Indian stringed instrument, in sort of the same family as a sitar, but whereas a sitar has frets, a sarod is fretless. It has a metal neck. And I played sarod on Inanna, on the Edges of Twilights, and the sarod that I own actually was once owned by the master of sarod playing. His name was Ali Akbar Khan, and he was kind of like the Ravi Shankar of sarod. And that's that one that I'm staring at right now. Actually, it used to be his. So
Yeah. I found myself as I was revisiting Triptych while preparing for this interview and thinking that obviously the world music aspects, the different cultures has always been, such a rich part of the Tea Party sound. And I remember thinking that, oh my God, has any like Gen Z idiot with blue hair and a septum ring ever used the phrase, "Oh, that's cultural appropriation" or something. Because I'm like, that used to be when I was growing up. That was a cool thing. It was cool to be worldly, and now there seems to be this kind of very small but very vocal minority of idiots on the internet who seem to think that you're not allowed to incorporate any aspects of other cultures. I don't know what.
I haven't met anyone yet who can actually tell me what I'm going to do. So, they can try, but no. I mean, the world is for sharing. I think if more sharing went on in the world, it'd be a better place.
I could not have put that better myself, and I'm actually stealing that phrase.
Okay.
Yes, I like that. And by the way, whoever came up with the phrase Moroccan roll deserves a medal.
I know. Yeah. Well, it wasn't us, but it was a journalist, but I think at the time, it was because when Edges of Twilight came out, it was around the time that Page and Plants did their thing, with the Moroccan orchestras and all that. So, or the Egyptian orchestra. So we both got tagged with those things, which is not bad company to be in, but it seems to have just followed the Tea Party more so, because, even, I remember when, when bands after us would try to put in Middle Eastern influences or things like that. If they're a rock band, they would get compared to the Tea Party. Like I remember that Eskimo Joe song that came out, that's, and they were getting compared to the Tea Party, and it's just, it's an amazing thing, that it's come full circle like that. Because of course, when Splendor Solus first came out, our wings were wet with our influences and, all the comparisons, it sounds like Jim Morrison singing in Led Zeppelin. And I'm thinking, well, that'd be a pretty good band, but especially with the second record, things changed and, we found ourselves and with every subsequent records, our identity became stronger and stronger and stronger. So
I love it, mate. Jeff, this has been wonderful. I'm really, really looking forward to this show. I should be catching you in Brisbane. And yeah, man, thank you very much. And hopefully we'll talk again one day.
Hey, yeah, well, Tom, after the show in Brisbane, if you can make your way backstage, come back and say hi. Okay.
Will do, mate. Have a great day.
Okay. Bye.